Hello and welcome to Haunting Button House, a BBC Ghost podcast. The potentially last ever episode. Potentially. Well, I mean, just in general, you never know. They might do a return episode and then it's like, we've got to cover it then. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You never know. But
so, yeah.
We've got to leave the door open.
I never even considered that. I've publicly said I don't want them to do another episode. So,
but what we want might not come into the equation.
No.
So,
okay.
By the way, if you've not listened to the podcast before, a very strange time to start listening. But we welcome all listeners. But I'm Luke, and I'm joined by Tash. How are you, Tash?
I'm all right, thanks, Luke.
What have you been up to?
Do you know this week I have actually been up to something?
I know, yeah. I thought I'd better ask because
I've probably had. There's no way to put it apart from the best night of my life. That's all I'm gonna. I'm not just gonna leave it there. So we've literally today come back from London, having witnessed Paul McCartney live on stage at the O2 in London. Never been to the O2. It is big.
It is quite big, yeah.
Very overwhelming for someone like me who would rather sit in a field than sit on a train. But yeah, it was spectacular.
I think you can't really say anything other than that, really.
No.
I think it's probably one of the best gigs I've ever been to.
Hands down. I mean, he's iconic. And I think that's sort of how it sort of... why it's so amazing.
Quite frankly, it's a spectacle as well.
I mean, I am a bit annoyed that the second night he brought out Ringo, but we move. We can't have everything in this world. And, but we did, so it was brilliant. So I've had a very tiring, my little trotters are hurting me now.
We got to see London at Christmas. It's busy.
It's
very busy.
We literally went to Fortnum and Mason, which is a...
I don't even know what it is yet. We didn't go
I always
inside.
thought they just sold tea, but I don't think they do anymore. And it was cute to get in, and we were like, no, thank you. Mm-hmm. So we just walked. We walked quite far, actually.
Yeah, we walked quite far to Covent Garden, which was also... It weren't as busy, to be fair.
But it's still very busy. I mean, it is beautiful.
Piccadilly was busier than that, so...
Yeah, I mean, it is beautiful London at Christmas, but I would not rush back.
Yeah, it's very busy. I think you have to... We went on a Thursday as well, which is meant to be a tiny bit quieter. So it wasn't really that much quieter.
No.
So just prepare yourself if you go to London at Christmas that you're going to be standing out.
I think any city at Christmas.
Yeah, true.
Well, any big city, but alas... Here we are on our very, as you said, potentially last. Yeah. Probably
we're
last.
We're closing the book, but we're not
putting a padlock on it.
Padlock. What a weird analogy.
But so this episode, we don't have a ghosts episode to go through. Mm-hmm. We only have feedback from the very last episode of Ghosts. Mm-hmm. So should we have a look through other people's feedback and then maybe look at our own?
Whatever way you want to do it.
So I made a bit of a mistake by posting my request for feedback across some groups that I've been part of since we started this podcast. Mm-hmm. And obviously when you ask people for feedback, they gave it, but half of these people I don't think listen to the podcast.
I mean, you never know. We might get a massive influx of listeners again. So the last episode, they were like, why are they not introducing themselves? I have no idea who these two are.
So, I've got some feedback that we can go through. So, we asked for top 3 episodes. We asked for favourite character, favourite scene or quote, and what else did we ask for?
Favourite scene or quote. And why you love ghosts.
Why you love ghosts. So I just hope I've captured everyone's feedback But if I haven't, then I can only apologise. So Jan says top 3 episodes are Carpe Diem, the Christmas special where Alison sings In the Bleak Midwinter, and the very first episode as it sets the scene and tone for the entire series.
Okay. Yeah.
Jan's favourite character has to be the captain. He's so reserved but also so open. His kindness to all shine through every episode. One of my very favourite scenes and lines of dialogue has to be when Mike gets drunk and the bouncer tells him that we are all getting old, followed by Alison and Mike coming home and joining the ghosts in the line dancing to Achy Breaky Heart.
Yeah.
And then Jan also says, Dear Luke and Tash, my kindest wishes to a happy and safe Christmas and New Year for you and your family. I've truly loved listening to you on a Saturday night here in Australia as you go through each episode. Maybe that is wishful thinking. Kind regards. So that's,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
so we've got some other sort of feedback from what I posted on the group. So Christine says, love them all in different ways, that all played their parts brilliantly. And Carol says, I agree with Christine, loved every episode and every character, watch repeats over and over and read the Ghosts books they have written.
Yeah, 2 books now.
Yeah, 2 books.
Not many TV shows get 2 books.
No, definitely. Vicky says, when robbers came to Button House, favourite character Robin. That was a good episode when the robbers came. That was because I think
Jay's dad from In Between.
Yeah, and I think we saw a lot of Mike there as well.
Yes, yeah.
Terry says, I don't have a favourite episode, character, scene or quote, or I should say they're all my favourite. The whole show was cohesive, everything flowed from season to season, episode to episode. I'm going to miss this show so much. It was therapeutic to say the least. Claire said, my favourite episodes are Woodworm Men, Carpe Diem and It's Behind You. Favourite character is Pat because of the sweetness and quirky personality, and best scenes are the panto, the volleyball match.
Oh, that's with
Humphrey's head. And campfire during Woodworm Men. Best quotes are Thomas's about being Scottish, Pat's reasons for speaking American, and Julian's politics.
It's quite funny actually. Like I was watching a video earlier, to try and trigger my memory from this, and it was a compilation of best bits and quotes and stuff, and a lot of them are coming up in people's feedback. So I think people.
There's definitely the favourites, isn't there?
Yeah.
Lynn said, "Love them all, especially the wedding, the fight." Maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe Lynn is talking about the American.
Might be the American one.
Movies.
Unless it's there's a wedding that they have at Button House.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but there wasn't really a fight, so maybe
know.
that's in the American one.
Yeah.
And
sorry, Lynn. Maybe we just don't know what we're talking about. We've completely forgotten about episodes.
A fight, maybe. Lucy says top 3 episodes: Bump in the Night, Woodworm Men, and Mooniston. That's good. Mooniston's a good one as well. It's forgotten about, I think. Really.
Early on, yeah.
Favourite character, Pat. Favourite quote is "Get out, get out, get out." I love Ghosts because it's so quirky and feels like home to me. It's a comfort no matter what's going on in my life. And then Bethany said top 3 episodes would have to be Thomas Thorne Affair, It's Behind You, and Home. Favourite character is Thomas. People say he's annoying, but I think he's just adorable. Always been my favourite since day one. Favourite scene would have to be where he says he's Scottish, or the scene where him and Alison are watching the sunrise. Favourite quote as well being, it's no fault of the sun if the eye sees not its beauty.
Quite poetic line.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, but he doesn't realise.
Yeah. My friend introduced me to Ghost last year, decided to watch it on a day I was sick, and I've loved it ever since. So cleverly written and so funny. Billy says, I think all the characters are the reason I enjoy one of them most. It depends on the episode. I love Mary and Robin.
As a pairing, or
I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe. My top 3 Billy's top 3 episodes are He's Behind You,
It's Behind You.
Yeah, It's Behind You, Speak As You Find, and Woodworm Men / Last Resort. And then we've got some feedback from Jess. So we've got 2 lots of feedback from Jess. So first, so Jess said, I wanted to let you know how much I and my 2 daughters, Helena and Olive, ages 8 and 12, love your podcast. Ghosties, what we call ghosts, I quite like that, is one of our favourite shows, and we love the way you recap and review each episode. We are sad that it's the last episode, but grateful for all the time and work the 2 of you have put into your podcast. Thank you for creating something we have been able to enjoy as a family. So that's super. That made me cry when I read that. So.
as witness.
And then so we've got. I'll just find.
It is quite interesting, actually. I always forget that. I think I said to you at the time when we read it. I forget that people who aren't our age listen to this.
Yeah.
And obviously we try not to swear or say anything that's too out there. But yeah, you do have to try and. Remember that this could be listened to by anybody.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because we don't really sounds weird, we don't really interact with children, but we don't. No. People like our friends don't have kids, we don't have kids, so it's hopefully we're so we've got Jess's feedback. So this is Jess, Olive 12 and Helena 8 from Indianapolis. Indiana, United States. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
So Helena says that her favourite character is Kitty because she's funny and she's silly. And Olive says her favourite character is Alison because she can be funny at times and still be a serious character while talking to the ghosts. I think that's interesting because Alison's often forgotten, even though she's arguably the main character of the centre of the whole show. She is definitely forgotten.
I think it's because the ghosts are more obviously characters. If you know what I mean? They're so they're not caricatures because they're way more well-rounded and deeper than that. But it's obvious that they're a character in a show of being a caveman or a politic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Alison is.
She could be any of us.
Yeah. Just a normal person in this situation,
So Olive's favourite episodes are Bump in the Night and Part of the Family. She likes Bump in the Night because she thinks it's fun to see how Mike interacts with the ghosts, and she likes the big twist at the end of Part of the Family. She also thinks the episode I Love Lucy is really funny because of the hilarious situation between Mike and his boss. That's a good one.
Yeah. It's weird that we watched that probably not that long ago, but there's so many episodes that trying to remember everything that happened.
Definitely. And then Helena likes the whole Lucy storyline because she likes a mystery and she likes how they figure out that Lucy is a fraud. So that pretty much took over a lot of series 3. So
there's quite a lot of whodunit kind of things in Ghosts, I find. I get the feeling that they enjoy writing those kind of things.
Helena also likes the Christmas special where Pat gets to watch his family home movies from past Christmases. That is. I
forget which one that one is now. Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
It's his gift, isn't it, from Alison? And it's a projection that he only watches a bit of and then goes back to. So Jess says, thank you again for all the time, love and care you put into each episode of your podcast. Your voices are welcome friends in our home and wish you both the very best for whatever comes next. Don't make me cry again. Jess also said that Helena does an excellent impression of Fanny.
Oh, okay.
So I'd be very interested to hear that and any other impressions. I'm not going to try an impression. I'm not sure what their name is, but someone asked on Instagram if we could compile a list of our scores from each episode, which we did, and I posted that today.
Okay. Yeah.
And also our average.
Bit of backstory to that. So I keep all my scores in a document, so pretty easy to collect mine. One of us doesn't collect all the scores in the document, so I'll let you deduce that. So
I don't know who that could be.
So I had to go through and find out all the other scores, and then we worked out the average from that.
Well,
nice fun exercise.
You might have done that, but you still only got a 7.90.
I know, yeah.
As an average episode.
Yeah, so, pretty harsh critic.
Why do you even bother doing the podcast, Luke? I got an 8.22. Yeah. I think I had some more 10s.
Yeah, probably.
Some 10 episodes than you, which kind of bumped my score up a little bit. But yeah, so your average score is 7.9, if we just round it. 7.9 and mine was 8.2. Kind of similar. Yeah, and kind of similar to IMDb.
Yeah, I think
although their scores obviously are for each episode, so it's difficult to say. But if you took it as an average, it would probably work out kind of similar.
I think if you go, because you can on IMDb you can have a look at what people review the entire series, and I think the way it does it is it kind of takes off the tops and the ones. What do they call it now? A weighted average, is it? Where you take off the 10s and the 1s and figure out the rest of it, because people on the internet are horrible. Yeah, I can't remember what it actually says on that. Forgo Ghosts. An 8.4 on there from 28,000 reviews, that is, and that's just on the series itself. So not far off. Still, I'd say that's pretty high, because like the only things that get like a 9 or a 10 are like Breaking Bad and the David Attenborough documentary series. You know what I mean? So
as they should.
Yeah, yeah.
So, some more feedback. So, Nick says, I can't believe it's all over. Oh, and sorry, this is a long post. This is long feedback. I agree with Luke that the last episode should have been longer. I think we needed an extra 15 to 20 minutes just to wrap things up. I like the way they ended it, but at the time it did feel a bit whiplash, as the previous episode had them deciding they were going to stay. And then suddenly they were leaving. 10 mins more might have helped to wrap it up more, which I kind of agree with, but I still wouldn't knock it down points for that.
Yeah.
I'm glad the writers ended the series on their terms rather than they keep going on and on until it got rubbish like so many series do. And as much as I love Ghosts, I don't think they'll be doing any revivals. They're all keen to work on other projects by the sounds of things. Incidentally, if you get a chance to see A Midsummer Night's Dream with Matt Bainton as Bottom go, he's brilliant. We saw the signs.
We saw all the signs when we were in London, yeah.
But we didn't go.
No,
I did say maybe we should go and stand by stage door and tell him there's a really good podcast you should listen to, but
I feel like we might end up being a restraining order or something like that.
That's a price you have to pay.
Right. Anybody listening, don't take that advice.
Yeah. So Nick's top episodes throughout the series have been Gone, heartbreaking and wonderfully written, exploring grief and loss in such a good way, though it was sad to see Mary go. It's Behind You. Pat's home videos had me in tears. The panto was amazing fun. And the played ghosts are brilliant audience members. I'd definitely be watching this every Christmas. And Carp DM, devastating backstory for the captain, which makes me really love him as a character. He's so much more than what we thought way back in series 1, and ending on line dancing to Achy Breaky Heart is a highlight of the whole 5 series.
Yeah.
Favourite characters? Always Robin. He's so wise and so funny. I love that he speaks better French than English. And I love that he can thrash Julian at chess. I love the captain, though more in hindsight rather than a first watch. Go watch Woodworm Men and see him really getting a medal he actually earned from Pat. It's much more touching when you realise the medals he's always wearing aren't actually his. Wow, yeah. I never even made that connection. Yeah. In my recent rewatch, I really enjoyed Humphrey. He's quite sweet, really. He can't help being a bit useless when it comes to love with Sophie, but he's a good man, really. I love them all really in their own way, though I'd probably get incredibly annoyed by Thomas and find Julian a bit sleazy and Kitty a bit annoying and Fanny a bit too much of a fuddy-duddy. But they're quirks that we love them for.
Oh yeah, it's quirks that work in a 30 minute episode. If you
any more than 30 minutes.
Yeah, you probably would get annoyed with all of them collectively.
Yeah, Nick said, I'm really going to miss my Saturday mornings listening to you both. Thank you so much for doing this podcast and for keeping my love of ghosts ignited all year. I'll have to just keep rewatching my comfort show and listening again to old episodes of the podcast. Hope you do another podcast sometime on the show, maybe. Never say never.
Never say never. I was going to say Nick made a point of Ghosts finish on its own terms. And I find, like, BBC's quite good for that. Like, their comedy series never seem to outstay their welcome. They, if anything, they tend to have less than you'd want. So I know we both like This Country. And that kind of ended in sort of a decent way. I think the only thing that misses out on is something like a Christmas special.
Very much so, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, they'd sort of done everything they could in the program, so they ended it, and they're doing very different things. But yeah, I think that sometimes with BBC, it is they're quite good.
Yeah,
at,
knowing when to stop.
Yeah, exactly.
So some more feedback. From Caroline. So, general Christmas chat. When does Christmas kick in for me? For me, it isn't any one moment. It's a gradual build-up. We have family birthdays in November, so there's nothing for me until the start of December when I draw up a plan and lists of all that. After that, it kind of builds incrementally. However, we have experienced several family losses at this time of year, and so the edge has been taken off the whole season. Our family is now tiny and celebrations are muted compared to the big old family Christmases I used to orchestrate in years gone by. Favourite Christmas song? It depends on the context, but in the last few days before Christmas, driving home for Christmas, because it reminds me of years we travelled to see family and they were on their way to us. Apart from that, the oldies the best, so a bit of Slade or Wizard, possibly Wham. Let's face it, a compilation is where it's at. I would agree.
It's weird calling Wham an oldie. Like,
yeah.
Even I wouldn't have called it an oldie back like when I was a kid, even though it was the 80s. But like now, it's like, what?
I'd just like to say that Paul McCartney did sing Wonderful Christmas Time.
He did.
It was amazing.
And Blasted Snow, and there was a kids choir came out. Oh, there was the whole 9 yards.
It really was. Episode reaction. Tasha, you're not alone in losing it during that proposal clip. I'm sitting here sniffing and leaking. I know a lot of fans hated this last episode and feel it didn't feel it was authentic. However, the more I watch it, like Luke, the more it confirms how having Mia changed everything and how it makes perfect sense. Kitty and Thomas both struggled once Alison was busy with Mia and everyone else was just interfering as much as Betty was. Like her, well-intentioned, but interfering nonetheless. We did see Alison find a house with no ghost back in series 1, but the hotel deal fell through, so they stayed. So it should be relatively easy to find a ghost-free new build. She'll be seeing ghosts out and about, and she can get away when she needs to. Yeah. I think the only way would be, surely from the sale of that house, they could afford to live wherever they wanted to.
Basically,
because it's massive.
Build a house in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
and again, it'd probably be on like a old war battlefield. War battlefield, like there's any others.
Yeah.
That's the thing with the final episode. Like, I remember when I first watched it, I was way more critical, I think, and I did feel like a bit shortchanged by the ending. But yeah, I think watching it back and like seeing the entire complete package in quite a short amount of time. I think you do see it coming, especially in the final series. You do see how their lives are changing, and I think the only major criticism is that it was short and it didn't have that build towards the end. But it is what it is, isn't it? I don't think it's ruined.
No, definitely.
It was a good episode and it's a good series. So it's not like there's definitely way worse endings to TV shows out there. So.
Yeah, definitely. Caroline said, I like the postscript scene showing that they obviously return regularly to see their ghost family for Alison and enjoy the hotel facilities for Mike. They're like any young family in Western society, living alone as a small unit but visiting family regularly.
Yeah.
I love the Plaguers enjoying the spa. I agree it's the perfect ending, although having a longer episode would have allowed them to really flesh out the ideas in a less rushed manner. Okay, I'll go with Luke on a 9 for this due to the necessary packing lots into a short piece. No more. Sad, but the right choice. Whole show feedback. Favourite series. All series are great, obviously, but some brilliant individual episodes in each, and each builds on the last. I think in terms of a series as a whole, series 2 probably has the largest number of episodes for me. Favourite top episodes, He's Behind You is definitely my favourite Christmas episode in a long way. Oh, by a long way, sorry. I think my overall favourite is the Thomas Thorne affair, but honourable mentions for En Français, I have to say it in a French accent, isn't it? Gone, Gone, Woodworm and Woodworm Men. Having committed to those choices, I'm now backtracking. So many to choose from. Give up. Favourite character, I agree that Mike is often forgotten about. He is often working alone, even when surrounded by other characters. Kyle does a great job of creating him, but when it comes to an overall pick, it has to be Robin. I love his mix into the simple hunter-gatherer and his absorbing knowledge throughout his time in the house for so long. He's so wise and yet so simple. Favourite line, nope, no can do. Every character has several brilliant ones. I can't even begin to narrow it down.
I thought the quote was nope, no can do.
Sorry, I should have specified. Caroline said, thank you for leading us through this fantastic series over the past year. You'll definitely be missed. Then Alison said, I thought this episode was the perfect end to the series. The last scene wrapped it up so well, showing us that the ghosts hadn't been forgotten and were thriving in their new circumstances, particularly the plague ghosts. Imagine how this resort would have been if Alison and Mike hadn't tamed the ghosts. Interesting. And introduced them to modern concepts. I bet Julian is loving the opportunity for voyeurism.
A lot of opportunity. Yeah.
There was a lot of hate online when this first went to air, and I've seen what happens when favourite shows outrun their course. Luckily, this one was in very capable hands. I did have a little moment of panic after the exorcism scene, much like Julian did when they said it only worked on ghosts that do harm. Luckily, they didn't keep us hanging for long. My favourite Christmas songs are also Slade, The Pogues, and Wizard. We don't have many homegrown Christmas songs, but a few years ago Tim Minchin released one called White Wine in the Sun, which probably captures the feel of Christmas in Australia.
I didn't know that was a Christmas song, actually. Yeah.
Really? No. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
So,
do you know what? I probably haven't listened to it. I've heard a lot of Tim Minchin, but I'm like wondering, have I heard that song all the way through or something?
Yes, yeah. The Christmases I spent in the Northern Hemisphere felt much more Christmassy than ours, and the traditions make more sense than fake snow on windows and 35-degree heat. Some resorts here now have Christmas in July functions for this reason. What's the temperature in...
At Christmas in Australia? Yeah. So like now... Because I've been to Australia at Christmas.
Have you?
Yeah.
You've not mentioned that before, ever.
Have I mentioned it on this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't remember. I just know that I've been told multiple times.
Unbelievable. I remember having a barbecue. It is literally how they say of like, oh, you go for a barbecue at Christmas because it's boiling hot.
I was going to say I meant the temperature in July compared to 35 degrees.
No, right now, yeah. I don't know what it would be now. In July, shall I Google it? We'll do some live Googling. You try and find out.
You want me to try and find out?
No. You carry on and I'll
find. So Alison said, my thoughts on this series as a whole, it's quite a journey for both the characters and the fans. We saw the development of them all over time toward the final conclusion. It was genuinely funny and with real heart and not a saccharine way. Sorry, I'm terrible.
Saccharine, I think. Means like overly sweet.
Okay.
Like
even the most touching of scenes dropped a line to make you chuckle, like when they were looking for a starter name after Mary, and Robin says that that's the International Space Station. I think the series helped give people something to look forward to during the awful lockdown times, and I think they were aware of this and devised ways to keep filming despite the obstacles and the time away from their families, and they did Zoom interviews to keep us all entertained. I'll miss the show, but look forward to seeing what they all do next and their next venture as a group. Thank you, Tash and Luke, for allowing us to stretch it out for another year.
I've been on the Australian tourism website. I like that. a rabbit called Ruby has just popped up saying "Good day, mate." So, that was interesting. But winter, so it's June and August. I just went Sydney because I thought let's go capital. Let's stick to that. Is between 8.8 and 17 Celsius, or 47.
So like our spring, basically.
Yeah, basically 47 and 62 Fahrenheit for anyone who works in there. So yeah. So basically, it's if you're acclimatized to really cold temperatures, you're never going to be that cold in Australia, even in winter.
Be in my shorts.
That's why you can always tell British people over in Australia at that time, because they're all walking around in shorts and everybody else is in jumpers and
Doc in Doc says, I tried to find my favourite episode but couldn't narrow it down, so I'll just say any that lean into the horror themes, like Bump in the Night or Not Again. The only way I could narrow down my favourite scene and quote was to find ones from the very first episode that made me think if the show was worth watching. The scene is them trying to haunt Mike and Alison, but failing miserably since she can't see them yet. And the quote is Thomas telling the captain, "The garden view comes with a screaming woman." A favourite character is much easier. It has to be Robin, with his mix of sage advice, schoolboy naughtiness, and love of wordplay, cryptic crosswords. Going back to the early episodes again made me realise how much the ghosts have changed by Alison's influence, going from bickering housemates to a found family who would enjoy all the activity at the hotel, remembering Robin was willing to kill Alison and Mike to prevent a hotel. I've only known hot, sweaty Christmas time, so definitely Tim Minchin's White Wine in the Sun. And he also wrote Matilda the Musical and lots of comedic songs with a wicked sense of humour. If you want to check him out, my recommendations would be Prejudice, Thank You God, If I Didn't Have You, the Pope song, and his 9-minute beat poem Storm.
I think Prejudice is the one where I think it's where only a ginger could call another ginger.
Oh.
It was an interesting opening line, but I'm not going to say that.
So yeah, I think there was something I was going to say based on that feedback. I remember what I was going to say. We watched, it was Doc saying about how they're trying to haunt Mike and Alison. And I was like, I remember it would have been about this time last year that we were like, okay, we've got this idea for a podcast. What are we going to call it? And I think we kind of were working with, I think it was going to be called Welcome to Button House. And then we were like, okay, let's just watch the first episode and try and like see what like we can find. Take from it. And then we were like haunting Button House. That's what we came up with. So it was that like them, I think the moment that, I'm not going to take credit for this, but it was my idea. It was your idea. So I will take the credit. I think it was the bit where Pat, in the very first episode, he's kind of like, they're trying to think of ways to get rid of Mike and Alison, and Mike kind of alludes to the fact that, well, we are ghosts, so like we can haunt them. I don't think he actually says we can haunt them, but he kind of implies that that's what they're going to do. And I was like, that's a good idea. That would be a great name for a podcast. And it's worked. Well, I think it's worked.
We think it's worked, yeah.
Okay. And then finally, last but not least, is Mary-Ann's feedback. I admit, Mary-Ann said, I admit I've hesitated to post my feedback as I just don't want this HBH journey to end. I'm loving the HBH.
I know, yeah. We didn't completely miss out on this.
I know. I could have been using this all the way through.
That's what we could have done.
Hashtag HBH. Yeah. This episode on its own was a good one. The interference from Mike's mom is something I think even we who are childless can understand. The ghosts coming to the conclusion that their family should go, making a new start, was heart-wrenching. I have so many questions. Where did they move to? Surely there were ghosts there too. What was their life like? As I'm sure Alison ran into ghosts at the grocery or daycare. True.
I know, yeah.
Certainly this episode was in my top 3. Add that to Carpe Diem episode and Gone Gone from series 4. There are so many to love though. I've adored the captain from the start and he will always be my favourite. And the others who are also much loved other than Obi and the others who are also much loved other than Obi and Stupid Lucy. I will throw this out there as bait for another HBH episode. Okay. I think Mike is dead and is a ghost.
Ooh, what a twist.
That left me stunned. I was like, what?
And then Mike Shyamalan directed it.
Right. Marianne said so. I think Mike is dead and is a ghost, appearing in death as he's shown in the last scene. I believe he died on the golf course at one of his and Alison's regular visits, and now he is a resident ghost of Button House. If you notice, they do not address him directly at the check-in desk, and he isn't walking up the stairs with Alison. I think he is dead there. Let the debate begin.
Okay. I mean, I never in a million years thought of that as a
and he must have died whilst holding his
golf
club.
Literally died on the golf course. I mean, it's plausible. I mean, plausible. We'd have to.
I think I'd have to re-watch it to kind of like really
dig into
see if it was.
You'd have to literally watch and see if anyone acknowledges him, any living person acknowledges him at all in that scene. Because obviously you can't go off what Alison is doing because she
could see him, yeah. I've just realised that then if Mike did die, Alison would still be, I'm going to say it like this, still be stuck with him.
Well, either that or he goes. Like
True.
Depends how he died.
True.
Because I assume ghosts stay around because they died unnaturally, if you know what I mean. Like,
yes.
Something caused them to die, usually.
Yes, gave them a reason to stick around. Unfinished business.
Yes, yeah.
Blimey. Well, it's something to think about.
Well, yeah.
So yeah.
Wow.
So I guess we should do our feedback.
Yeah.
So with our feedback, obviously we'll go into that in a second. I've just got one question. And I'm interested what everyone else thinks as well, but obviously there isn't going to be an episode to read out your feedback. Who's worse, Lucy or Obi?
Lucy, 100%. Yeah. Because Obi is...
He's harmless, but he's annoying.
He's annoying but harmless, whereas Lucy is actually malicious.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think was a short talking point, wasn't it?
I think anybody would be hard pressed to say that Obi's worse than Lucy, an actual criminal.
Well, if anyone actually thinks that, then please let us know. Do you want to go through your top 3 episodes?
Yeah, do you want to go reverse order? Make it like 3, 2, 1. Because then we save the big reveal.
Okay.
Shall we do my number 3?
Yeah.
So my number 3 is Carpe Diem, or Carpe Diem. However you pronounce the Latin for that. So this was the episode where they all think that they may, all the ghosts might be... No, not all the ghosts might be going, but one of the ghosts might be going at midnight, where Robin predicts that. And then we get that story of them all, of the alive people. I'm trying to recap the entire episode as quickly as I can, where the alive people try and have a big night out and it falls on its bottom. And we get the captain's backstory and everything as well. I just think it's just, there's just so much about this episode that like sticks in your mind. So like you get all of the life lessons around it of like, you know, of dealing with moving on to the next stage of your life, whether it's the afterlife or it's your actual, like, you know, moving into parenthood. You get this really heartbreaking sort of backstory of the captain and all of that stuff, and then you get this really sort of heartwarming and funny scene of them all just doing a line dance, which is, you know, just I mean, people go to Button House to do the line dance because it's so iconic.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just gets every emotion out in there of like when you watch this episode. So yeah, just a top episode. How about you? Number 3.
Now you've kind of convinced me that should be my number 3.
No, you got to stick with what you've gone.
Yeah, it's really hard, like really, really hard to pick a top 3.
Yeah.
And like obviously you compiled the list of the
our ratings.
Yes,
yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah.
So it I was able to go through, but I went for It's Behind You.
Okay.
Is it It's Behind You or He's Behind You?
It's behind
you.
Okay. Yeah.
I think the panto is just really funny.
Yeah.
That's another thing we did as well recently. We went to a
panto.
panto.
Went to a panto, yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite hectic actually the last few days.
Did we talk about the panto on this?
No.
That was an interesting day.
Well, very briefly, we went to a panto, and the second half started, and we heard some commotion up in the rafters at the top of in the upper circle, and 2 women were having a fight. So that was interesting. Hopefully neither of those women are listening to this, and if you are, can you please let us know what the fight was about, because we really want to know.
I just remember
I would have paid good money just to find out. Apparently one was arrested for being drunk and disorderly.
Yeah.
So
I remember when somebody said there's been a fight, and I just turned to you and just went, "That's a panto." I just couldn't believe it.
Well, we didn't really know what was going on, and then I looked up, and then I just heard them say "fight," and then I looked at you and I was like "fight," and you looked at me and you were like "fight," and my mum was like, "This is real." I was like, "Yeah, I know, isn't it great?" But yeah, it was so a little. We digress. We digress.
Yeah. But anyway, It's Behind You. Yeah.
But yeah, I think. Yeah, I just think it's a great episode. I haven't really written any notes. That's nice.
Just the top 3.
Just the panto.
Yeah.
And I think it's just another way of like all the ghosts coming together, and I just think it kind of works. So yeah, what's yours? Your number 2.
My number 2 is Speak As You Choose. So this is the episode where we learn all about. I was going to say Lucy. What's her name now? I literally said Annie. I literally said her name earlier, and I was like, it's gone from my head. So we learn all about Annie and her backstory, and we learn a lot about Mary as well.
Yeah.
Like, she finally comes out of her shell to the other ghosts, and kind of sets up her leaving in the next episode. Is that we have
it's 2 episodes time.
Yeah, is it 2 episodes?
I think that's episode 2, and she leaves in episode 4.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but yeah, we just get. There's loads of good jokes in it. You get this really I think I say this all the time, this heartfelt backstory of like, her being this shy sort of wallflowery character, and then Annie really bringing her out of a shell. And just it like the best ghost episodes, it gives you a life lesson to sort of take away, which is funny that you're getting life lessons from, I know it's not real, but life lessons from ghosts, it's quite funny. And yeah, I remember giving that one a 10 out of 10, so I mean it has to go towards the top of the list.
Yeah,
so it's probably,
especially your 10s are rare.
Yes, yeah. I only give 2, so you can probably work out what my top 1 is from that. But how about you? What's your number 2?
My number 2 was Gone, so kind of following on from what you're saying about Mary. I think that episode where she goes, and obviously I've talked about like sort of my own grief journey, if you like, over the last sort of 18 months. So I think that episode kind of really hit home, and was a lot to sort of learn from it, I suppose. And that things always, not everybody, what am I trying to say? So I think everybody, even when people experience the same thing, everyone processes it differently. And I think that's such an important thing to remember, that everybody is different, and when it comes to grief, and we saw like how each of the ghosts kind of processed Mary's passing on to whatever, I don't know, the side of unicorns or something. So I just think it's just really important, and I feel like that episode should be like used to like kind of like help people to process how they're feeling and or how they might not be feeling. Like it's really important. So yeah, I went with Gone.
It is interesting that like a show that's essentially a comedy is giving you so much like real
emotional support.
Yeah. And it teaches you a lot about just how the world is, but like using a sort of an analogy for something else. You know what I mean? Like, I remember from that episode with Robin talking about how he deals with this and like you know what he does, and I thought it's just a really interesting sort of perspective on everything of like you know this timeless perspective. But great episode.
What's your top?
My number one. I think you picked it just as your number 3.
Oh,
It's Behind You. I think at the time I said, this is the perfect episode of Ghosts. It has literally everything in it. So you get all of the jokes that you get with Ghosts. All of the ghosts have their quirks on display, and Alison and Mike as well themselves. I like the panto at Christmas because it was a Christmas episode. It's on it would have been on Christmas Day, I think. Possibly this one was.
Yeah.
Or around then.
Because it was series 4. So.
Yeah, so I think it was Christmas Day. So a panto at Christmas is literally like peak Christmas. You get this is the one, I completely forgot this until like somebody was talking about the videotapes with Pat. This is that same episode, and I remember just when we watched this, because I think we might have watched this one live.
Probably.
I remember thinking that was really affecting as well, of like somebody reliving their past days and getting upset and you know, and then having to sort of recontextualize everything that they thought about stuff. I thought it was just really, really poignant.
Yeah.
And I didn't have anything bad to say about this episode, and I think that'll always be my favourite episode. So yeah. How about you? Number 1.
I went with The Ghost of Christmas.
The Ghost of Christmas.
So that would have been the first Christmas episode.
Oh, yeah.
So the reason for that being mainly for the In the Bleak Midwinter sing song.
Yeah.
But with that, I think, although I was quite surprised, I don't know why I thought it was series 1 Christmas episode, but they didn't have one for series 1.
No.
So it's series 2 Christmas episode, but I really feel how we got that kind of like family. It kind of hit home, I think, in that episode, how much of a family they'd become, and how much Alison had influenced them to, I guess, enjoy things that are like new, like that have come since they've been dead.
It's funny. It's kind of like so like I imagine a lot of people will be watching Christmas Carol this Christmas, or the best version of Muppets Christmas Carol, as we previously said, where it's ghosts teaching a human life lessons and how they should change their ways. Yet in this one, it is a human teaching ghosts to change their ways. If you know what I mean, like not exactly, and I don't think they were saying that, but it is quite funny how you have this kind of
Yeah, I just feel like that. It's kind of like, I guess, the episode as a whole, but that moment where we're kind of like, okay, this is starting to make. I'm kind of seeing this for what it is now, rather than like each episode is just like a new thing. And it just, I just feel like that was the moment where I felt like I get it, like I get this. And obviously watching Ghosts on a second run, for a second time, watching it from the beginning, you obviously look at it more like analytically, don't you? Especially doing a podcast on it. I think I've said before. So just seeing it just felt like that was the moment where like their family, and that's kind of what I took from that. So that was my top.
I think there's something about that as well. Like, I remember ages ago somebody saying that they don't like episodic TV, where it's like, you know, a different story each time, or not completely different story, but like the same characters. They were like, oh no, I prefer sort of like your Game of Thrones, where it's like a continuation of the story, because they always say that like you get more character progression, and I don't agree, because I think the best episodic TV, like you'd think of stuff like
Inside Number 9.
Not that, because they're not the characters aren't
Oh,
the
I
same,
see what you mean.
I mean, like stuff like Ghosts, and I always think of like Buffy and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where it's like the same characters dealing with different situations, but you get massive character development through it. You don't. It's not as obvious, but it's definitely.
But that's
there.
the thing, I think, isn't it? It isn't obvious. It doesn't like go like, this is what this character's like, and now this happened, so now they're like this. It's kind of like just gradual.
It's quite subtle. I find
very subtle, and I think it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So.
And you can literally just pick, if you want to, pick up an episode and watch it if you want.
Yeah,
but also you get this full story. So, yeah.
So, I think one thing I just added a note here.
Okay.
Similar to Who's Worse, Lucy or Obi. Just a note to comment on the weirdest storyline of the whole thing was Fanny and Humphrey.
100% is the
like
weirdest,
it's the weird, like, where did that even come from? Like, why? Like, I have so many questions about that. I just would love to ask
the
writers what were they thinking? Why is that? To me, looking at that from the outside, I'm like, that has to be some kind of like in joke. There has to be something there,
or maybe they just found the idea of it very funny, which
I mean, it is.
I think I'm on that camp of just the idea of a woman falling in love with a headless body is just really, really silly. So,
and just a little, a side note of, just wanted to mention that weird.
I think I don't know if we got it in our list here, but somebody did mention it in the feedback of their favourite series. I guess goes on from that. What would you say is your favourite series?
I think looking at my scores, I think my favourite series must have been series 4.
Yeah, same.
Because I gave my most 10s.
I think even going outside of the tops, you've got like, so it's Behind You, which is good. Gone Gone, Speak As You Choose. And even some of the others, like Poacher Guests, has got like a lot of good bits in it. So I think Series 4 is my favourite as well. That was easy.
So, favourite character?
I think I've said this all along, and I have to stick with the person that I've enjoyed throughout all of it. You learn a lot about them. They do change, although even by the end they're still at the core themselves.
Yeah.
It's Julian.
Julian? I thought you were going to say Robin. I was like, what?
I really like Robin as well, and he'd probably be my runner-up. I really like Julian because, I don't know, I quite like this like caricature of this like sleazy like politician who's like always out for himself. But you do see a softer side to him, and you're like, especially in like the Christmas.
And you don't have to dig too deep either to find that softer side.
No, so that's the thing. I quite like that you get this like slapstick silly. I mean, he's the most. He's not slapstick in comedy, but you know what I mean. Like he's the most caricature-y like character there is. You know what I mean. But yeah, there's so much more to him like that. I mean, like with all the ghosts really. But yeah, I always get a kick out of Julian's jokes. And just the way he is. So Julian is my favourite character, surprisingly. I would not agree with him on many things.
I was going to say, because you're quite not... Your political views do not align.
But it's just funny. He's just a funny character. So
I get you.
How about you?
Oh, God. I just can't. I can't choose. I can't. And I know that's such a cop-out. And I really should... Okay, let me like talk it through with myself. So they're all great. I can probably go through why I like all of the characters. It's so hard.
A 3-hour-long podcast as you say everyone is your favourite character.
Oh, it's just so difficult. I think...
I like...
If I really had to choose... I would probably go with Robin if I really had to choose.
Yeah.
But it would be so marginal between them all. I think Robin just has that edge just because of what other people have said. Like, he's just so wise and, you know, he's got, you just look at him and you think, oh, just classic caveman. He's got some really funny lines.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a bit earlier today, actually. I can't remember what happened, but Fanny sort of like questions him on something and he's like, you want some? Like,
Yeah.
And I just think that's just, yeah, he can just get away with like saying these things. But it's so difficult. I think if I really had to choose, it'd be Robin, but I couldn't say that, like, I couldn't, I don't. It's just so difficult. Closely followed by the captain.
Yeah.
I think. I think my heart hurts for him.
Yeah. I think he
deserved so much more than the world gave him.
Possibly one of the saddest backstories.
Yeah,
I'd say.
100%.
I'd say him or Mary's is probably the saddest. But we don't linger on it for too long. It's just kind of, and then she was like burnt as a witch, and you go, "Wait, hang on."
Yeah.
Like, But I think the captain probably the most like, the saddest if you like go back into it.
And I just think I don't know. He just, but then also I really like Fanny as well. Like, I kind of like how, like, she's kind of like very proper, but then like scratch surface and like she's like gonna read Lady Chatterley's Lover and kind of like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind, there's just a lot there, and equally like essentially she was murdered. You know, like
I think,
and I think she's the way she is because of her circumstance
and the times.
Yeah,
definitely. The way they were.
Pat, like, he's just such a great character. Like, he is just really lovely, and I think he's kind. I don't think there's nastiness in him at all. I really am just going through all the characters now.
I think what you were saying there as well, like, just to go back to the captain and his everybody else's demise, so to speak, is played for laughs.
Yeah,
the captain's is 100% not. Like, his is a definite sad moment.
Yeah,
whereas everybody else, Kitty as well, probably not that. They don't play that for laughs too much, but then again, they don't linger on how she died. It's just that's how she died.
Yeah, it's more like it's almost like a murder mystery, isn't it? Like,
how
not
did
really
she
a
die?
murder. Yeah.
But anyway,
I think, and just I feel like I should go through all the ghosts now because I've pretty much done that, but I'm going to stop, and just say equal to all that. I think Mike's a great character. Obviously, Alison is the glue that holds it all together.
Yeah.
And for that, she's a great character. But Mike, I think he is overlooked because he doesn't have these interactions with the ghosts. And I think, to be honest, I think I talked about it in the last episode, so I won't go on too much about it. But yeah, I just think he does really well to kind of, you know, deal with these people.
Yeah.
One question that I hadn't asked you, but which do you think any of the ghosts, or which of the ghosts, which of the ghosts, not characters, do you identify with the most?
Identify with? Well, it's definitely not Julian. He's my favourite character, but 100% not Julian. That is difficult. Humphrey, well-meaning but useless.
Fair play.
Or either that or Pat, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just like, you know, trying to, you know, keep the ball rolling.
Yeah. It's a hard question, I get that. Yeah.
They're all, I mean, let's be frank, they're all flawed characters. Like,
but isn't everyone?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Apart from Mary. Mary did nothing wrong.
No.
She probably
just lived a life. Kind.
Yeah. But yeah. How about you? Who would you identify with?
Obviously I have an answer because I wouldn't have asked the question if I didn't. Probably Kitty, because I also love the Spice Girls.
That is true. You do love the Spice Girls. And Pineapple.
on pineapple.
I don't know if you actually like pineapple.
I mean, it's okay.
You don't love a bit of pineapple.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you had the pineapple hedgehogs? What did they have? The pineapple
cheese
and
cheese? Pineapple.
Yeah. Why did we decide that was a thing to make?
It's a great combination.
It is a good
of
combo.
Like the fruitiness and the creaminess of the cheese.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know who came up with that.
I think we said at the time of this episode when the pineapple episode was on, we were like, they considered that like a pineapple really exotic and like for royals, and then now we have it with Spike on a bit of Spike. What do you call them?
A
cocktail stick. That's it. Spikes.
Spikes. Hedgehog spike.
Hedgehog spike. Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess this takes us on to our favourite quote or scene.
Okay. I've got them as two separate things.
Oh.
I have mine says favourite scene or scenes or favourite quote or quotes.
So I did say that, didn't I?
Which one would you do?
So I've gone for quotes.
Okay.
I haven't really picked scene. I suppose like the scene. If I was picking a scene, it would be like from my favourite episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Shall I do scene because I put
Go
scene
on.
in? I mean, it's not any different. It is from my favourite episode, the pantomime. Because it's brilliant. It's a fully realised pantomime.
You couldn't pick any others apart from those like iconic ones. So like the pantomime. In the bleak midwinter, achy breaky heart. Like it's kind of like it's
going to be one of those.
It's going to be one of them, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's go quotes then. Do you want to go your quotes?
No, you go first because you were going first.
So I didn't pick one quote. Technically, I picked 3, and there's probably more. My favourite quotes are Mike's songs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love all of his songs. So I wrote 3 down of what the ones that I remember. In the very first episode, I think it's the first episode, his Don't Be Scared
Don't Be Squared.
Don't Be Scared. Don't Be Scared song, which makes Alison more scared. Daddy Gonna Drill a Hole, which is classic, and Got a Little Safe as he's testing the soundproof. He's just, I don't know, I just like all of his songs. They always make me laugh. So
they are pretty good.
Those are my favourite, I guess, quotes, yeah. How about you?
Sounds good. So I've got 2. And I think I said them at the time. And they just really made me belly laugh. I know the one I had to pause to like.
I think I remember you laughing at it while.
Well, the first one, I'll go with the first one. I don't know what episode it's from, but it's when Fanny talks about the Titanic trip. So she says, people forget that before the iceberg, it was a perfectly pleasant trip. And then she goes on to say, you wouldn't catch me letting some American oik paint my breasts.
Yeah. I can't remember what episode that's from.
I can't remember what episode it's from, but yeah, it's really funny.
As the experts, you should...
I couldn't call us experts at all. I think you think very highly of yourself.
I don't consider myself an expert at all either. Yeah, I'll find out what episode it's from. But yeah, not that it matters, but we did find out that it's from A Lot to Take In, which is where Lucy first arrives, I think. Cool.
And my second quote was from Series 1, Episode 3.
Okay.
Which is when they got the builders in.
Yes.
And the captain, this is the one I had to pause to compose myself. The captain says, there you are, jolly good. Now, I thought the Blitz was bad, but your builders make the Luftwaffe look like a youth group. No offence, Pat, we know your lot were capable of killing.
Yeah, I remember that was another one where...
Yeah, so funny.
It, I don't know what, there's a good bit from that one that I always remember. It's where somebody's going to bash the ghosts and Alison says watch out, and then she has to like turn in, she's like, for all the sugar, Mike. It's quite a lot of good bits, but a lot of good quotes and gags in this TV show. Funny
that. So I guess what have we missed?
Have we got one more?
What have we got?
Why you love ghosts?
Oh God!
Or you put why you love #BBC Ghosts is what I copied.
BBC Ghosts.
Yeah. Did you come up with one for that?
No.
Just love it.
Hate it. Don't even like the show, actually. I think it's really rubbish.
This has been the long con.
Yeah. Don't like any episode. Hate all the characters. It's incredibly difficult to come up with. Pin down those kind of reasons. Every reason why I love the TV show is why I've dedicated a year of my life doing a podcast. I'm incredibly sad that this is over.
Mm-hmm. But like ghosts, all good things must come to an end. If you think this is good,
I just think it's funny and serious.
Yeah,
and it has that perfect mix of the two, and it's also very informative. Like it gives a bit of history. Yeah. We've learnt a lot. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to cry if I'm not careful here. Yeah, I just think it's that perfect mix. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I don't know what else to say. I've got to be honest. I didn't like...
I hate you with this. Right?
Even though I wrote. I think with how 30 whatever episodes in now, everybody knows I've got a clue what I'm doing.
I was going to say, if this is the 39th episode, I think. So
God, that's annoying.
The reason
couldn't have been 40.
I know, yeah. Let's just do like a last episode where it's literally just going,
hello.
We're just doing this for the 40. Yeah, if you want to find out the reason why I love ghosts, there are 38 episodes, and I think you should go back and listen to all of them.
Start right at the beginning.
No, pretty much similar thing to what you put. It's quite a morbid premise, really. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's quite dark, but the fact that it's family friendly and is still really funny around this theme, I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
There's very few, like... I know, like, there's definitely dark comedy programs, but they're always adult, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way you'd show it to a kid, like, something like, I don't know, Peep Show is quite dark, you know, at some points. The episode with the dog. But you would never in a million years show that to a kid, you know what I mean? Like, whereas this... You could watch this with everybody, and it's not gonna, you know, like, there's a bit of like squeamishness on some things, but other than that, it's not dark or, you know. So yeah, I just think it's really cleverly written.
Yeah, because I think when we were first starting, we were thinking about doing this. It was literally Christmas. Well, when we'd already thought about it, but it was Christmas Day last year, and some people were around my mum. Friends around my mum's house, and we said, oh, this is what we're thinking of doing. They were like, oh, I've never watched it before. And we were like, they've got a child who's 12 at the time.
Yeah.
And we were like, no, you would actually really like it. Like, the three of you could watch this together and you will enjoy it.
Yeah. I think there's very few things that are like that.
And I think they have watched it. I think after we were like, no, I really think you should watch it. I really think you'd like it. And I think that sort of age as well, like, is where you appreciate it as more as well. So, yeah, it's just something for everyone.
Something for everyone, yeah. As the best comedies are. Shrek. No.
Shrek. Great film. So, yeah.
So that's the last of our questions.
Poor.
That's the last of everything we've got.
Yeah.
Completely
I've
done.
Given everything to this.
You sound like Ian Beale.
I've got nothing left.
This is very English reference there.
I think we should mention that we did try. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but we did try to get the someone from Ghosts. We contacted all of their management, PR, people who represent them. I don't know. We contacted them all, but unfortunately, nobody bit. So
yeah, we
I think that's one thing of this whole thing. Like, I do sort of kind of wish that we had have been able to kind of get that. I don't know if the word's like recognition, because I don't really look for recognition in things, but like...
I guess it'd also be good to have like that perspective from somebody else who was involved in the production. It would have been good
to like get some questions answered and other people's questions answered, and maybe something not quite as formal as what they might be used to having questions asked of them. But it didn't happen, and that's just... one of those things, but we did try. And yeah, they're busy people at the end of the day. So
as you've seen,
and we can't pay them. No. We can't pay ourselves. So it's it's just one of those things.
If you ever do see a 40th episode pop up, it's either because a new episode has been announced or we actually managed to get one of them on. In the sort of post period, I guess.
Post Christmas. Post 2024.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, I guess the last thing we need to do is thank people who've listened.
Mm-hmm. Everybody for listening, and getting in all their feedback.
All their feedback, and especially those of you, I'm not going to name out names, but especially those of you that have consistently given feedback every week or from when you started listening, because that does really mean a lot, because at least we knew that some people were listening. And it kind of helped us to, because it is hard doing a podcast. I underestimated how difficult it was going to be in terms of time, because obviously it takes sort of like 45 minutes to watch a 30-minute episode with the pausing and stuff.
To an hour sometimes.
Sometimes.
We're detailed.
Yeah, and for yourself as well, because you really kind of did the...
I did the, what would you call it?
The
play-by-play.
Yeah, which is hard.
Yeah,
it's really difficult. I certainly couldn't have done it. So it does take a long time. So to know that people listen, and we've had a lot of positive feedback as well, and it just makes it worth it. Makes me upset.
And even if you didn't get any feedback and you just listened to every episode, that we're grateful for that as well.
Absolutely, definitely.
We do see the numbers and where people are listening from as well, which is always incredible.
Blows my mind, that people across the world are listening to us. Because I do feel, maybe when I think because we were sort of gathering all of our feedback, I did kind of half listen to a bit of one of the early episodes. And we do sound very like, and this happened, and then this happened, and I think this. And I think as we've got through 30, nearly 40 episodes, I think we have loosened up. And I've never done a podcast before. I will be putting this on my CV. Just to, put that out there. But, I can't remember what I was going to say, but as usual.
But I don't know what else there is to say other than
I think I'm just trying to beef this out so that we don't
need to beef it out. We said initially, it's probably be like 20 minutes episode just to wrap it up. Current recording time says 1 hour and 15 minutes.
No, I'm sorry.
Definitely not a short one.
Okay. Well, we'll leave you to live the rest of your lives without us.
And obviously this will make no sense to anybody who's listening in the future, but if you are listening at the time of release, have a good Christmas, a happy holidays.
Have a wonderful Christmas. Santa, I wonder where he is, because we did put it on the telly.
Put it on the telly, Said he's still checking his list.
Checking it.
Yeah.
How many times?
Quadruple times.
Quadruple times. He's got to be sure. He has got to be sure. So have a wonderful Christmas and
whatever else you celebrate as well. If you don't celebrate Christmas, if you include everybody who's listening to this, we have no idea where we're from
in the world. And a
happy New Year as well when you get to it.
Take care of yourselves and each other. Oh, it's really sad. And we will
see you soon.
See you soon.